This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
We're Eagle Auburn fans, and welcome to Tiger Tracks, your source for Auburn track and field and cross-country news and discussion. I'm your host, Jessica Loomis, and I'm here with my husband, Kyle, to discuss the Crimson Classic, which took place in Tuscaloosa, Alabama on October 14th.
First things first, again, I'm so sorry to our track and field and cross-country folks that had to head over there. Staff, athletes, otherwise, it is, one of the worst days of your life when you have to travel to that dumpster fire that is Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But I hope all of you threw up a few War Eagles and good old Rocky Tops just to remind them on your way through Tuscaloosa. So I just wanted to get that out of my system to start off this.
Okay.
Well, no love lost. Don't like the place.
Now that it's
dumpster fire.
Now that it's out of your system, does it make you feel better that the women scored a team medal?
Yes,
it does. Classic?
It absolutely does. But you know what? I just have a lot of angst every time I see those words come across the screen here on our notes.
You have major issues.
No, listen, this is what happens when you bleed orange and blue. You see Tuscaloosa, you see the word crimson, you even just see the color crimson, and you just have this instant reaction, just a bleh.
I guess if this is your job, that you can only see in orange and blue, and you're wearing those orange and blue colored goggles.
But you have them on too. Don't act like you don't.
No, I do not care. I am so proud that they went and the women scored second. I don't care what meet it is.
Finding the real thing that we're here for. That's what to keep me on track, to keep me focused on not the petty things.
Exactly, because you are a petty Betty.
Because I love being petty about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Anyway, I'll stop.
Will you?
Maybe.
Right.
No promises.
So let's talk about the course that they ran on. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time in 5 years that they've actually raced at the Harry Pritchett running course.
Which we talked a little bit before we started recording, because we've been in the Crimson Classic for a long time. We've talked about it almost every single year, I feel like. So this must be just a first time they're back at this particular course in Tuscaloosa, I guess.
So, and normally I'd feel like the information I got was wrong, but that was unfortunately directly from the University of Alabama's website. So
how did it make you feel that you had to go over there?
Listen, I felt like I needed to block it from my browser history.
And you were giving me problems for saying
I'm saying this as a joke.
No,
I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
But anywho.
You care.
Yes, I did have to go to the UA website and...
the UAT website, because they're UAT. I'm sorry. I promised you I'd be better, but I can't. It just happens. It blurts out. It's
like doing the show with a 5-year-old.
It is. I'm sorry.
Okay, so why don't you read some notes then, because that'll keep you calm. Talk about the course.
All right, so again, she talked about how this was the first time we were back at the Harry Pritchett running course in 5 years. Pritchett, excuse me. Until 2003, this was a golf course, but now it is solely a cross-country course. This tells you how far cross-country has come in the city of Tuscaloosa, and the expectation that they have this completely solely set
dedicated.
I mean, that's pretty cool, to be honest with you.
That's awesome, and talk about a great place for that team to train.
Right. So I wonder what happened to the golf course, though.
Well, obviously it wasn't very fruitful if they turned it into a cross-country course. I also think maintenance would be a lot lower.
Well, I would imagine so. But...
Runners, as long as the grass is cut, that's all they care about. It doesn't have to be meticulously hand scissor cut.
Is that what you think they do?
Well, those golfers are pretty particular about things.
Shout out to Clint Richardson's dad, who works at a golf course. We should ask him, a little bit more detailed about, do they actually hand scissor everything down there?
Probably not, but I feel like it is super meticulous, and you can't just go out there with your, John Deere
tractor. I'm pretty sure they still use John Deere tractors.
Yeah,
anyway.
But it can't just be anybody. I can't go out there and mow a golf course. I would be fired.
Lord, you can't even do our grass. But
Excuse
anyway,
me, I mow our grass as much as you do. You want to get into that?
That is not even true. We're not here to debate about that, because that's not true at all. This particular course is mostly a flat grass and road course with a few rolling hills. So a little bit of terrain change, a little bit of elevation changes, just like you like it.
Seems like a good course.
So not a boring looping course like you typically despise as a cross-country runner, but something with a little variety to it.
It's got variety. It's got different terrains. The difference in grass and road, it's not substantial, but at least there's no sand.
Sand traps. Don't get me started on that again.
Exactly.
I've already gone on one tangent tonight. Let's not do another one.
Well, why don't, since you seem to be doing better when you talk, Why don't you start us off?
You're trying to
talking
keep me
about
busy.
the women.
You're trying to keep me busy at this point. All right, let's talk about these ladies rocking it out at the Crimson Classic, which was probably a very competitive field, mind you. 19 teams competed for the women. Auburn finished second out of all 19 teams with a total of 79 points. 180 runners total in this race. Now, that's a little bit fewer than the last one we talked about, right? I think it was like in the 200 or something like that. But still, this is usually a very well-known event every single year. So you know that you're getting some of the best competition coming to the Crimson Classic. Let's dive into our top 5 finishers for the ladies who are part of that overall second place finish, which I love for the ladies.
You love second place. I love a score of less than 100 points. I think that's awesome.
That's great. But I'm all about the first.
Oh my gosh.
The seconds, the top 5s. I'll take top 5 finishes. Because I think that's pretty good if you can do that. But
you mean top 5 team finish
and individuals too. I'm all about the individual finishes too.
I'd say top 10% individual is something very significant.
Well, we've got a few of those to talk about here in our top 5 finishers for the ladies. We got Jean Kotze leading off the ladies, finishing 8th overall with a time of 20 minutes, 31.5 seconds. Right behind her, Samantha Rogers finished 9th in 20 minutes, 32.8 seconds. So literally just like a second, was it 1.3 seconds difference between the two of them? Right there, neck and neck together. Not too far behind, Hallie Porterfield in 11th. 20 minutes, 37.4 seconds. Hannah Tarwater finished 21st in 21 minutes, 10.0 seconds. And finally, Sarah Pacer, our last score for the girls, finished 37th, 21 minutes, 31.6 seconds.
So what I love to see, as you already know, Kyle, but I love seeing Jean, Samantha, and Hallie just right there together, neck and neck, finishing within 6 seconds of each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really great way to win championships and for this race, come in second.
Well, you talked a lot about in like previous races, not just this season, but previous seasons as well, about how important it is to have like a running buddy or a running group to kind of have someone to chase. Yes, you're chasing the other competitors there, but when you see your teammate with you there, I can only imagine how that kind of like, all right, they're there, so I can just, push that a little bit further.
When you see your teammate, and it, like I said, cross country is such a mental game. And when you see it as somebody that you train with day in and day out, and if you're in the same training group as them, you already know that you're doing the same work they are. So mentally, I'm right there. I can be with them. I can run this race with them. There's a lot of, obviously, teamwork, camaraderie that comes with it. So I think this is an excellent representation of all of the work they put in together as a team throughout the season.
Would you say that teamwork makes the dream work? She's rolling her eyes right now.
I am just getting a headache from all of the crazy things you've said today.
Well, let me finish out with the craziness here. These are the rest of the finishers for the ladies. These are not part of the score, but we want to make sure that we note them as well as part of the contributing factor of this team. We've got Hannah Thuss finishing 59th overall, 21 minutes, 54.6 seconds. Haley Marston finished 104th overall in 23 minutes, 3.1 seconds. And then Callie Holden finished 126th in 23 minutes, 39.3 seconds. So pretty good finish overall by everybody. Even got to talk about some people that we don't necessarily get to talk about a lot.
Absolutely. So let's move on to the men. So we had 16 teams compete for the men. Auburn finished 5th out of the 16 with 128 points. Like I said, since there were only 16 teams, women had 19. Obviously, it's a smaller field, so there were only 143 runners in this race. So starting off for Auburn, we had Ryan Kinane finishing 6th place overall in 23 minutes, 42.7 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Beddix finished 20th in 24 minutes, 40 seconds flat. Lewis O'Loughlin finishing 28th in 24 minutes, 50.5 seconds.
Can I just say there, every time I hear Loughlin, I think of Lori Loughlin from Full House. Is that, am I the only one that feels that way?
No, but I also didn't want to bring it up since she had that whole scandal thing that happened. So
I wasn't going to mention that part of it. I was just saying.
Well, that's kind of tainted her name.
Every time I hear that name now, I
don't think about Full House. I think about how she scammed people.
I'd choose to see the good people.
Well, let's hope Lewis is not like her. How about that?
Sorry, just had to bring it up.
Oh my gosh, you have derailed the show.
That's I run us off course. Okay.
Yeah, you would run off course and score 143rd.
That's probably true.
143 runners. Isaiah Billingsley, the fourth scorer for Auburn, finished 41st overall in 25 minutes, 10.1 seconds. And Cooper Atkins finished 45th in 25 minutes, 16.6 seconds.
So all of our scores are in the top 50 there. Very similar to the ladies as well. Everybody, the top scorers finished in the top 50 of all the individual runners there. So very impressive for the guys as well. Obviously, Ryan's right up at the top there. Being the leader there, and familiar names like Carson Bedex being very close to him as well. Very proud of the guys and the girls because like I said, top 5 finishes, and especially team wise, are what I really value. And I know my value doesn't really hold much water to what the coach and the players want, but that's just my personal thing, what I love.
It does hold water because this is your show.
Well, it's your show. I'm just
Is it though?
The comedic relief that's not that funny.
I don't know about all that. But anyway, for the non-scoring finishers, Auburn had 4 other guys that competed. So we had Joseph Perry finishing 57th in 25 minutes, 29.7 seconds. Dustin Lewis finishing 67th in 25 minutes, 49.6 seconds. Benson Atkins finishing 74th in 26 minutes, 1.4 seconds. And finally, Mark Foster finishing 89th in 26 minutes, 35.4 seconds.
So just like we were talking about with the guys, the scorers for us finishing in the top 50, everybody for the guys finishes in the top 100. That's a really good thing. Obviously, the goal is to have everybody competing at their very best to push each other for that top 5 scoring spot, because if they're all giving that best effort, you're going to get, the highest score possible out of that. I mean, if you look at Joseph Perry, not too far off, right? 25, 16.6 was Cooper Atkins, and he was the 5th scorer for us. Joseph Perry is about what?
13 seconds
13
off.
seconds. So I know that's probably a pretty significant distance.
When you're thinking an 8K, it's not as far as it sounds, right?
Yeah.
It's not as significant as in the 1 mile.
Right.
How about that?
Right. No, you know how I do with numbers and distances sometimes. That those don't really
help you. But the farther the distance, the less impactful a 13-second difference is.
Gotcha.
How about that?
Gotcha. Very happy about Ryan Kinane, 6th overall, like we said, leading our team. And then Jean Kotze, 8th for the ladies as well.
Yeah, so both top 10 finishers, and Samantha Rogers was top 10, and she was the 2nd scorer for the ladies. So, 3 top 10 finishers at this meet, which is really impressive for the number of athletes that were there, in the 140s for the guys and 180s for the ladies. So that's
the 180s for the ladies. I like what you did there. Can I point something out that maybe it's probably stupid?
I'm scared.
It's something that I want to say, and I'm scared because if you've listened to the Auburn Experience show with Austin, that we felt like we jinxed the volleyball team, so I don't want to jinx the cross country team.
Here we go.
Do you feel like we're having a lot better year than you thought we might?
Well, yeah.
I've said the quiet part out loud. I know I wasn't supposed to say it, so I'm sorry, Coach Kint. I'm sorry, all of you athletes, if I just speaking about it ruined it. It's kind of like a no hitter in baseball. You're not supposed to talk about it.
I think all of this little junk about you can't say that. It's like, as a nurse, you can't say the word quiet in the ER because then people are like, oh my gosh, it's going to get so bad. All this black magic stuff. It is what it is.
It's a little extreme there. I don't think it was black magic.
Well, whatever you want to call it. Superstitions. These athletes work really hard.
It's called mojo.
There's no superstition that's going to change the trajectory of their running career.
But me as a fan, as someone that's following this and is invested in them having the best success possible for themselves as individuals and as the team, I feel like I'm responsible for ruining it sometimes, even though I know in my heart of hearts, in my head, that that's not true. So just let me have that moment, because I can't do anything else, because Lord knows if I got out there and run, as Jessica said, I would be like in, 143 runners, I'd be 146. That's how bad I would be.
Yeah, an accurate representation.
And I'm not going to fight or argue with that because it's true.
Well, I think we should probably end on that note. Not even a high note, but just a weird note.
Yes.
Because of Kyle. So, great job at the Crimson Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Great job representing Auburn, the better school of the state. How about that?
Right.
Auburn goes to the SEC Cross Country Championship Next week, Friday, October 28th in Oxford, Alabama.
Yes, and I think we've run there last season, right? Or was it that, did we already run there once?
We already ran there this season.
I thought so. I couldn't remember exactly.
I thought so, but I guessed last season.
Well, because I'm used to us, going up like north a little bit throughout the year, and then I remember that we come back down, especially as the weather starts to get a little bit chilly up there. Could you imagine running up there in those type of temperatures that we've been having right now?
It would be perfect.
Would it be? Really?
In the 70s?
Oh, no, I'm talking about how cold it's been the last week, like before it started warming up.
No, they're cross-country runners. They're really good.
That's fair. They're tougher than me, so I won't argue that.
Yeah, so War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.